Good morning, and welcome to A Healthier You. I am your host, David Christopher, without my co-host, Fawn, but I've got some special guests, so hang on. Might as well start right off the bat. We've had Dr. Ann Tracy, on the program many times before, and we're happy to have her, but she has a special guest that she's invited on. He's calling in from Stuttgart, Germany. John, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
John, give us your full name.
John Virapen.
All right. And Anne, you want to say something to John?
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Now, I understand that Anne wanted you on the program today because of you're getting approval for Prozac in Switzerland. Is that correct?
Sweden.
In Sweden.
Sweden, yeah.
Sweden. Well, shame on you.
Well, I'm a Swedish national, even though I don't look like a Swede. I'm of Indian extraction, and I've lived in Sweden most of my life, and that's where my career in the pharmaceutical industrial complex started.
And so that was quite a while ago, I guess, that you got that approved.
Yeah, this was 1968. I've been in the industry for over 35 years, and still I'm retired, but based on all the atrocities that these people are doing, I had to come back out and tell my story.
So it sounds like you've had a change of heart.
Well, not a change of heart, but I just can't sit around and watch what's going on and not say anything about it because I know so much. 35 years with this industry internationally, and have done more corruption than the governments and everybody is doing. You know, in the industry alone, it's really horrific. It's terrible.
Well, give us a little example of that with, say, the Prozac thing. What did you find out about Prozac that made you turn the other way?
Well, it's not only Prozac. It's everything that these people do. But the reason I'm coming out... Anyway, I would like to mention my book that's just been released in America.
Absolutely.
It's called Side Effects Death.
Well, that's pretty strong.
Yeah. And the name speaks for itself, and I am 100% behind it. I can prove everything I say, and I have also physical evidence to prove what I say. So it's out in America a week ago, and I think... your country would be interested in having a look at this book because it's a little bit different from a lot of stuff that's on the internet.
And they can find out information about the book on what, your sideeffectsdeath.com?
Yes, sideeffectsdeath.com.
That's easy to remember.
Yeah, or on my name, johnvirapen.com.
John Virapen. Now, is there a subtitle of this?
Confessions of a Pharma Insider.
Confessions of a Pharma Insider.
Yeah.
Why don't you give us some confessions right now?
Pretend you're a priest.
I was the general manager of Eli Lilly in Sweden when Prozac came on. Prozac was a sort of emergency for them at that time because they were planning to bring out a drug called benoxaprofen or Oplan. I don't know if you ever heard of that one. But that was pulled off the market because it killed a lot of people in a very short time when it was registered in other countries like Germany and in England.
And what was its purpose?
Pardon?
What was its purpose?
To treat pain, arthritis, arthrosis.
They've had quite a bit of problem with arthritis drugs, haven't they?
Yeah, well, not only them, but the funny thing is that the drug is almost a copy of Vioxx that Merck came out with a few years later, and It's incredible that these people came out with a drug that is almost identical to binoxaprofen and caused the same problems when they had it out a little longer. And it's just amazing.
So
how can this happen?
So they had the information on what the other drug did and still didn't put it out.
Exactly.
I don't understand what the reasoning is there. Does it work that well that you don't care about the side effects, or what?
No, it makes a lot of money.
Well,
because that's what the industry is all about. They don't care about anybody's health. Who ever thought that?
I mean, why would anybody take a drug unless it worked or something? I mean, what?
Because we're all conditioned. People are conditioned by these people during the years. You believe that they are doing something good. They come with a drug and they say, hey, this is good for your arthritis. And, they show the advertising. That's another thing. I mean, why do they allow these people to advertise dangerous drugs? I mean, when you come with a painkiller and you show a video with elderly people dancing boogie woogie or whatever, this blows me away. Anyway, they came with the Prozac because the pipeline didn't have much, and they decided to bring out Prozac, which actually their plans were to launch this drug for obesity. But as you well know, and
to cause it, right?
Also, Anne, to get a registration for obesity is not easy. So they brought it out for depression. That's when the SSRIs started. Prozac was the first, or fluoxetine was the first. Now, at that point in time, when binoxaprofen got taken off, these executives and these companies were not thinking of sales of 100 million or 200 million. In those days when I was working before Prozac and all of them, they were getting $100 million to say, we would drink champagne and celebrate. Wow, it's a success. They started to aim at the $1 billion mark. And Prozac was the first $1 billion blockbuster, they call it. Now, I was among the first people in the world of the industry, especially Eli Lilly, to submit a registration for Prozac with the authorities in Sweden. Now, normally in Sweden, it will take about 7 years to get that registration. So they put the hammer on my head and said, do it. We don't care how you do it. Just make sure you get it out there.
So
my job may depend on it.
So how did you do it?
I bribed the professor. There's a clinical section of the approval that goes to a consultant in Sweden, some famous professor. We never know who they are. But, I mean, I was the manager at the time, and I was also inside in the industry. So we can figure out who it is. There were about a choice of 1 in 5. And I found out who this guy was, and I chat him up and use whatever talents I had. He became my friend, and then I told him, look, I want Prozac through. And he laughed because he didn't like the drug in the first place. They were all laughing at the drug. They said it was useless. I mean, it's not anything that you can think about. Anyway, I said, but I want it registered. I want to push through the system as quickly as possible. And he was the man to do it because what he says is like getting the final approval. So I said, what would it take? He said, money is good. And I called the company and told them, yeah, the guy wants money. And they said, well, set it up. I did. And he worked over the whole file, polishing it so that there wouldn't be any questions by the board, which would give it a speedy registration. Now then, after his work was done, the product came to the board for final approval. So the board called me and said, John, go and get your price negotiations done. You always have to negotiate with the government. That is a sign to pharma companies that your product is going to be registered. So I went, I did the price negotiations, and good old me, I managed to get a very, very high price for them, because these companies don't deal with anything else but premium pricing. This is the buzzword in the industry for us people like me. Anyway, I got the price. Then the board came back and said, look, listen, guys, we give you the registration, but we would like you to bring a 5 milligram dose, because it was only the 20 milligram that was submitted. And suddenly all sorts of hotshot executives and doctors and people came running into Sweden from around the lily world, London, Indianapolis, and so forth. They even came and took over my office, these people, these medical people. Anyway, they said no. They will not bring a 5 milligram dosage.
Do you know why, John?
Yeah?
We've brought it out in court cases, and I don't know if you were aware, but they knew that Prozac would work in the 5 milligram dose, but they wanted to target the general doctors rather than just psychiatrists, so they wanted to see an immediate effect.
That wasn't the reason, Anne.
That's what Thompson said.
Yeah, well, Thompson, yeah.
Leigh Thompson.
He's dead now.
Yeah.
The other idiots, they're there now. But the reason behind the 5 milligram dose refusal is I had negotiated a price of $1.20 per tablet, and that price, even though they did not get the registration, was an official price that they could use around the world, saying this is what Sweden has done. Because Sweden is a very reputable, high-flying country when it comes to drug approvals. So if they brought the 5 milligram, it would have meant 25% of the price of 120. Which means that they would lose 75% of the incoming revenue. That's the only reason. It's not a medical thing that they've been thinking of. They didn't care. All they cared about was their income. And it turned out that the 20 milligram started annihilating people all over the world after the first year or so of usage. And that's not right.
So it was the 20 milligram that was approved?
Yeah. That's the price they took and went all over the world to get that level of pricing in other countries. Because it's a price regulation here in Europe with countries like Sweden. I don't know if Germany is involved right now, but all the other countries, they had a special formula based on the pricing in different countries. And being a new drug, and it was not approved. It was approved in Belgium, and Belgium, I know it was approved in. So there was an open gate to put a pretty high price. And that is one of the problems you have in America right now, that your government is not looking at because of the industrial people and their interests. You know, the pricing of the drugs in America is woo. It's people are paying these high prices for drugs that, first of all, they told me if you give away Prozac, they'll still make money.
And how's that?
It's addictive.
It's so cheap to produce.
It's addictive, too.
Imagine if you sell. If I was told, I can't prove it, but I was told that the drug costs about. Let's assume it costs 5 cents. It can't be more. A tablet, and you're selling it at $1.20. The math is easy.
Pretty good profit.
Yeah. No, it's not a profit. It's a rip-off.
Yeah.
This is so it's not right. Now, at that time, when I was doing this with Sweden, with the bribery, Germany sent a memo to them because they had submitted in Germany. The Germans sent a memo and said, we're not going to register this thing because it's a useless product. It don't work. And there are a lot of side effects.
Mm-hmm.
That memo I have. Well, it's been posted on the internet also. 1 year later, the Germans approved the product. I have been asking them now the last few years to tell me what clinical documentation was submitted to make them change their mind. They haven't replied.
Yeah.
They don't have any.
They don't have a copy of that check, huh?
No. But somebody else have had a copy of a new one.
So
I'm convinced that it came about, the registration in Germany came about the same way I went about doing the Swedish registration.
So just out of curiosity, about how much would it cost to buy off a government official like that?
Well, it depends. When I did it, the cash money was about $25,000-$30,000.
That's all?
Yeah.
You've got to be kidding me. All those lives were worth it.
Wait a minute. That's just the peanuts in
gosh.
front of the bowl. They also promised him a long-term study at his clinic. And this guy was strapped for cash because he needed to fund his staff and his research at the hospital where he was the head psychiatrist. A long-term study would have involved millions of dollars. That is a part of the package that they didn't put on paper, it's word of mouth, that I arranged for him. It never happened because the whole thing with Prozac not being registered in time and so forth. But I was taken out of the project then. They promoted me to Puerto Rico as their director for the Caribbean and Central American area. And they fired me after 1 month. They're high-achieving. I was rated an achiever. I was rated one of their best employees. And then they fired me after 1 month, which I later found out was a conspiracy. It was all a setup. If they had fired me... You see, the guy who became a chairman of the board, who was president of international, or vice president, he was at the time, in London, he became... Prozac was his baby, and Prozac made him the chairman of the board in Indianapolis. He started to clean his tracks. And I was in his way. I knew too much. So they got rid of me.
You want to drop a name there?
Sidney Terrell, chairman and CEO.
Yeah.
Oh, and I know Lee Thompson. I had the talks with him. He used to come and visit. But unfortunately, he died. He was a nice man, but I don't give much for the rest of them in that company. Now, mind you, that's not the only company I work for. I work for some other big ones, global players, and this, albeit on a different level, but the same thing happens there. I haven't had, let's put it this way, I don't know any of these companies that have a good heart, at least the ones I worked with.
Or any heart?
Well, no, that's right. They don't have it. In my next book that's going to come, I don't know, in a year or so, I've written there that these are the, I don't know if you've ever heard the talk about unemotional people. Only unemotional people work in the pharmaceutical industry. They have no emotion whatsoever. Their only craving is the mighty green dollar, or euros, or whatever it may be.
Let's bring that into today. In yesterday's paper at Front Page News, Lancet retracts autism report. Have you read that about Wakefield studies?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm into that now.
Oh, yeah?
Doing some heavy research to tell the people what really is going on.
So
this is another setup. It's a scam.
This is fairly unprecedented, isn't it, for Lancet to actually withdraw a study from what they had published?
Yes. Lancet, mind you, has some people behind them in high places, and they're very careful about the paper because it has a fairly good reputation in the medical world.
Right. It's in England like JAMA is here.
Yeah.
Journal of American Medical Association.
Yeah. But you have royalty behind that paper.
Making it even more prestigious.
Yes. The royals are involved. Rupert Murdoch. You know who he is.
Oh, pretty big names here, yes.
Well, he and his family, they're involved with these royals somehow. There's somebody wrote that on a thing that came out yesterday. And there's a connection because there's some more papers involved in a kind of a conglomerate. I don't know exactly. I'm looking into that right now. But apparently, the idea, the base idea is to cream this guy, Dr. Wakefield.
Oh, yeah, he looks like he's going to lose his medical license.
Yeah, he is, they got him tied up in a bag, just like they do with they've done with other people. I can't get any names coming to me right now.
And all of the researchers are abandoning ship like rats, you know?
Yes. But they are rats in the beginning anyways. You know, the researchers, I mean, if you look at it this way, private research does not get any funding. Or let's say get enough funding to really be, to make them honest. The pharma industry walks in and buys them, pays them well, and then tells them, this is what we want. And they go out and they find a little, you know, like Prozac, for example, fluoxetine, they change a little atom somewhere, calls it something else, and they get another 20-year patent on a drug. This is how it works.
And you're living there not very far from Dachau.
From where?
Dachau.
Oh, yeah, the town in is it Poland, no?
And we've got them all over America. We call them research centers. Come in, get your free
all
drugs.
These CROs, they call them, clinical research organizations. Right. That reminds me of when I used to go to Rome to my tailor. Because then I can tell him, this is how I want my suit.
Yeah, they're certainly not going to pay someone to come up with something contrary to what they're selling.
Exactly. So the whole industrial complex is a mess. And it's only coming out now because your government started catching the banks. That's another bunch of crooks.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and they've also killed too many people with the drugs.
Yeah, well, imagine the pharma industry. You think they left the insurance companies and the banks alone? No. They have a lot of money in there. They know how to manipulate these people.
Right.
If not, they own most of them. I mean, the banks are unemotional. You ever go to a bank and you meet a manager there, he's going to be nice to you as hell. And yeah, buy your house, give me the mortgage, we take that, we're trying to help, we're being nice to you. And then one day you have a problem, and you go to him and say, well, look, I need your help, man, I need a little more money. He's going to turn around and say, well, I'm sorry, my hands are tied. Unemotional.
And by the way, give me back your house.
That's right. He says, I'm forced to take it, and they don't have any. They're unscrupulous people. So it's all. How shall I say?
Conspiracy.
Conspiracy.
That's
to
lying
cheat.
to make money.
Yeah, money is the big word. And
some people aren't even interested in money; they're just interested in power, and money's just their vehicle for getting that power.
Yeah, well, the money gives them the power.
That's right.
And do you know that there are 450-odd lobbyists in the pharma industry? Now, that would make more than one person per Congress.
Yeah, and if they all got big pockets, that's a lot of money.
Yes, and not only that, they're so bought that the pharma companies own them. You know, they're like little slaves. And that is the highest form of corruption, lobbying, and it's legal.
I guess
so imagine the consequences during the years with this industry. And other ones, too. Look, there's corruption and bribery and everything else in all walks of life. You just look around where you're living right now down the street corner, there's corruption going on. You never know. The car industry, the food industry, the oil industry. But don't do it with people's health. This is what I'm fighting against. This is sacred. Your health is sacred. Health care, for example, like the discussions going on in America, is a right. It is not a choice or an option. It is your human right. And if you look at all the discussions of that's been going on in America since when the health care bill came up, when Obama came to power, and they're discussing everything. Not one time have I seen, and I read all the news, I got the TV stations, everything, have I heard anything about somebody talking about the patients or the people. Mm-hmm. It's all a discussion of money. The doctors, they're the salesmen now. How much money do I make? I don't want to take this card, I don't want to take... That is not primum est non nocere. First, do no harm. That is corruption. I'm sorry, David. You might be a different kind of doctor, but
oh,
no, this is fine. Everything you're saying is just great. And we're on an independent station. This station isn't owned by chains. Most of the radio stations have been bought up. This one's a fully independent station. So, yeah, we can say what we want.
Okay, well, that's good. Good. Recently, the last year or so, the pharma companies are being caught with this corruption and whatever else they're doing. That's against the law. Like, let's take Lilly, for example. They were fined $1.4 billion on the Zyprexa case. Mm-hmm. You've heard that.
Yep.
What was the drug again?
Zyprexa.
Okay. Why don't you bring our listeners up to date on that one?
Zyprexa is a neuroleptic that came after Prozac. It's in the same group of psychotropic drugs, and it came out to be treating schizophrenia.
Yeah, it's called an atypical antipsychotic, meaning that we're supposed to believe it's new and different, and about the only new and different thing is that it has a slight antidepressant effect along with it.
Yeah, well,
which makes it even more deadly.
So is it kind of like Haldol or something, or
like Haldol mixed with Prozac?
Oh,
maybe.
Wow!
It's
scary.
It's supposed to help the schizophrenia.
Since Prozac caused so much of it.
And they developed diabetes and other side effects, and many of them died also. Heart failure and whatever else was involved. And the drug sold about $4 billion a year.
Whoa.
Then they started selling it off-label. They started giving it to the old people, the elderly in old people's homes and whatnot, saying that it helps them sleep.
Yeah,
and then the workers in the home or wherever, they will have a chance to sleep also. Now, they were caught. And they were also caught with hiding or suppressing clinical information that they knew before the drug came out on the market. Now, before that, they were litigating with a lot of people who had serious side effects and who died. And they had agreed to pay the litigation out of court was $813 million. Then they got hit with a court case, and they were fined $1.4 billion. Now, I've tried to find out, where does this money go? Nobody can tell me up to today. I know the attorneys get a lot of money, the states get a lot of money, the whistleblowers that were there, they get about $5 million each. I think there were about 5 of them. That's another point I'd like to bring up also. I am not a whistleblower. I am an insider. There's a big difference. The whistleblowers, they get paid. I don't get paid. Yeah, I get my pension. But I work for that. Anyway, where does that money go? The victims don't get any of it. That I can tell you. And they don't tell anybody. They say, oh, Lilly was fined $1.4 billion. Pfizer was fined shortly after $2.5 billion. Where does that money go? No idea. It's a setup between the pharma industry and the states. I'm sure it has. I'm going to find out. It has something to do with the write-off with Medicare or Medicaid that the pharma companies have been swindling for years. Nobody's talking about it. The government is quiet. The lobbyists are active. It's just horrendous.
So you think somehow this $1.4 billion that they're fined is getting back to them?
Absolutely.
Oh, gee.
You know what they did with, after the fine became public, and it wasn't publicized much because the newspaper, somebody just put it in one day and done.
Mm-hmm. That's because
they
lose.
The people never get to know these things.
Well, the newspapers will lose their advertising contracts with them.
Exactly. You're getting on to the whole story now, Anne.
Oh, I know. I've
your
been
boy
living
Murdoch and all the mainstream media, they're going to lose money because they sleep in the same bed, all of them. And the money that they went out after the fines, which they agreed to pay. They were not convicted. They were just fined. They raised the price of Zyprexa 11.5%. So, that $1.4 billion, you're going to pay it. The people are going to pay it.
So they made it right back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. These people don't give away money. They use money to weave the sword. That's all.
So you'd think they'd have them withdraw the drug from the market, rather than just fine them.
Well, that is the reason. People don't know. There are very few people that know what I'm going to tell you right now. If they had continued to fight the case, and I know Livy doesn't like to lose a case in court. If they had continued to fight, the legal entity is to take the drug or stop the drug from the market. But because they admitted and because they paid, the drug still continues to sell. And this is murder. Mass murder.
It is.
And if they're listening out there, all these hotshot people, come out and have a debate with me.
It's euthanasia.
I can even perhaps call you, David, and you set up a radio thing so it doesn't cost them any money. But come and have a debate with me. And the politicians should raise their fat you-know-what and start to investigate this whole thing. This is what I'm all about right now, and I'm angry. I'm angry because nobody's doing anything. The powerhouses are only working for these people and putting the people down.
John, you know what happened here in America when they finally tried to ease the public's concerns about Prozac in 91, September of 91. The FDA held their first hearing on Prozac.
Yeah.
And they assured us all that it was just as safe as could be. There's no problem at all. It doesn't cause suicide. It doesn't cause problems. It was maybe
them a lot of problems because they lose money.
Right. It was maybe 1 month after that, just a few blocks from me in West Jordan, right here where we are, that Margaret Castanis, a mother with 3 children, took a knife and a hammer, a sheep shearing knife and a hammer, while she was getting her children ready for church, and killed all 3. Then she stabbed herself to death by stabbing herself twice in the heart.
There you go. Well,
that's how safe Prozac is.
One in an ocean of horrific events.
Oh, I know. And everyone should go to our database, ssristories.net, and check your own state out, your own backyard. See what's happened in your own backyard with these drugs.
A lot of times we get callous, and it's you hear these numbers and you go, okay, numbers, but you put names and faces and situations on each of those millions of cases, and then it becomes horrific.
Well, this is what the pharma industry is doing. They are using statistics to twist the numbers and the figures in their favor.
Mm-hmm.
But they are not the only one that can work with statistics, I'll tell you that. I've already shown in my book. If you guys out there go read the book, you'll see that the psychiatrist, for example, with that stupid little book that they have called the DSM, has been changed so many times because these people don't know anything about what they're doing. They sit there with a little bow tie. Psychiatrists, they like to look a little noble. They're all a bunch of empty heads sitting around a table and making decisions about people's mental health and inventing diseases. ADHD. What is ADHD? I don't know. Do you guys know?
I don't think they know.
Probably a normal active child.
ADHD is a disease. I would have died a long time ago because I used to throw mud balls at my teacher in school.
Now you're aiming them in the right direction, huh?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's ridiculous what these people are doing. And they have so much power. The psychiatrist has power like other doctors can't imagine.
Well, their whole trip is power.
Yes, yes. And they're doing a lot of research. David, let me ask you a question. Research. What is research?
Well, what it should be is the observation of life, but what it is these laboratory things that have nothing to do with life.
Yes, it's a search. Research means recycling what you're trying to find. They're always searching. Science is not perfect. And they haven't found anything. If any of you two can tell me, when was the last time a drug came out by the industry that cures anything? I'll give you $100 right now.
They're all designed to cause something so that you keep the customer coming back for
exactly.
more and more and more.
Exactly.
Yeah, drugs don't cure. They admit that themselves. Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of people have been asking the question, and why did you continue for so long? Well, I started out as a little colored man in a white man's world. I had to survive. Survival was my thing, even though I knew I was doing something that didn't fit with me and the way I am and my thoughts. So, they catch people like me with a big salary and a new car every year and the expense accounts, and I've seen more than 80% of the world and have lived in most of the 5-star hotels you can find around in the big cities. I know all the airports. I traveled 1 million miles in 5 years with American Airlines. So, who wants to give that up because of a few side effects here and there? And I was caught, and I apologize, and well, I don't know what else to say. They can shoot me if they want, or do whoever, but I'm telling the truth now. That I wasn't allowed to before when Lilly fired me, for example, because of something you have in America called, and it's all over the world, it's called a statute of limitations. If I had gone and spoken at a certain time, I would have been in jail. But I did break the time frame, and I went and reported this whole thing to the prosecutor in Stockholm, the state prosecutor. He gave me immunity and said, John, nothing will happen to you. I want the professor. But he couldn't get the professor because he was a consultant. There was a hole in the law. So this prosecutor went to the government and says, look, I want this law changed immediately. Apparently, when the House saw the legislation, they applauded, and they changed the law in Sweden immediately. So the law of corruption in Sweden was changed because of my story. So.
Yeah, that when they ruled on Prozac here in America in 91, I think they showed that nearly every one of those doctors that ruled on it, that looked at all the evidence supposedly, and then told us it was safe, I think every one of them were researchers that were being paid by Lilly.
Yeah, well, there was a committee when the side effects flow started with Prozac. There was a committee together with the FDA led by Dan Quayle. Now, you know who Dan Quayle is?
Oh, sure.
He's an Indianapolis boy.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole family were involved in the Lilly thing. George Bush used to be the father, used to be on the board.
Yeah.
The governor, Mitch Daniels, was the vice president. Look at this guy, Rumsfeld, another one in the government. He was a vice president with the pharma industry. Oh, he's got chairs there. That's why he had to resign. Because
somebody wanted me to speak in Indiana. I said, I don't think so. Thank you.
I'd love to go there. I'd love to go there. Well,
with
of course,
Daniels as the governor?
They'll have to give me police police protection or army
Right.
or whatever.
Yeah, really.
You better not use their police.
Now, here's another thing, and I think the public should hear this. All your listeners should listen carefully to this. When you commit a crime, you go around the corner and rob a convenience store, and they catch you. You go to jail,
These
and
guys
you pay a
don't.
fine.
These guys don't.
No, they pay a fine. It's like
Little
pocket
fine
change to them.
Right.
And they make it back by raising the
And
price.
they make it all back, which you will have to pay as a taxpayer, and insurance payments.
And some people have to pay with their lives because they're going to kill more people.
Not some,
A lot.
millions of people. Millions of people. And not only do the people die, we're talking about those who go and kill themselves. All the other side effects that maim the people for the rest of their lives.
Right.
That also costs the health care. You go in one day to the hospital or go to a doctor and you get, because you're depressed, you get, and being depressed because you may have hit your wife with a frying pan or she hit you with a frying pan, whatever, which usually goes over if you talk about it. But you go to the doctor and you see you don't feel too good, he gives you Prozac. You start taking your pills.
And then you kill your wife and yourself.
Either that or you start to do other get other symptoms of other diseases. You go back to the hospital again. I mean, that costs the healthcare system a lot of money.
First you need your gallbladder out, and then you got diabetes, and then...
And then you go to the hospital to get your kidney out, and they take the wrong kidney.
Exactly.
Now we're into another entirely different subject.
Yeah, no, I realize there's a little bit of
really.
an exaggeration. Well, not too
No,
much.
not
too
because
much,
the
but,
doctor's on Prozac. That's why. And memory loss, I mean, amnesia is a frequent side effect. If you can't remember who you are, how do you know which kidney to take out?
Exactly. I firmly believe that, what's the name of the, oh God, I'm forgetting my diseases now.
It's too early in the morning there.
No, when you lose your memory.
Need some ginkgo.
Yeah, well, my big problem, maybe they should treat me. My big problem right now is that I can't forget.
Yeah.
That's another disease I think they should look at.
Well,
The ones that don't forget, I'm a disease for them right now.
Well, Prozac can maybe make you forget and give you some false memory.
That's right.
I know. Well, Prozac might induce revenge. Can you imagine the headlines, colored man runs amok in Indianapolis. But I'm not that kind of person, so...
Neither were any of these other people who did it on Prozac.
I just, I want there's only one thing left that can help to bring some... I don't want to bring the industry down. There are medicines out there that are useful. And I don't want the pharmaceutical industry to close down. What I want is transparency, a little more transparency. And these politicians to get off their butts, close their bank accounts from money from the industry, and put in some regulation, some serious regulation. Just like they're doing with the banks now, they cap them at the $500,000. They should put in some regulation. You have an independent entity controlling their clinical work.
Instead, what
they hide the bad things, the side effects and so forth.
Right, and instead what they're doing is they're penalizing the victims. They're going, oh, now you can't sue for more than this.
Exactly.
Right. And here in the state of Utah, they already have a cap, and they're trying to make it smaller.
Exactly. You watch. You look at the. I don't know if you guys followed the swine flu.
Oh gosh.
Oh, they're claiming victory that because they got the swine flu vaccine out, that they prevented swine flu.
Oh yeah, they don't tell. You don't see them on television, Fox News, and all these other ones, saying that the companies have earned from May to November. The last figure I heard was over $7 billion. And how much the governments are paying for all this. You have a bunch of empty-headed politicians making decisions on your life.
And you have drug companies that stopped producing drugs that people need, that they got them addicted to, and started making the swine flu vaccine.
Exactly. And this scandal now with Dr. Wakefield and the Lancet, this is an attempt to clean the minds of people to bring back the MMR vaccines that have known to cause autism and everything else, but that's the whole debate. This is what they're trying to do. Because the U.S. government banned Quicksilver from the thimerosal scandal with Lilly and them. Then, a few months ago, before the production of the new vaccine for swine flu, they suspended the ban so that they can bring the Quicksilver back. What is this?
Well,
this
Mercury's pretty.
Yeah.
Mercury's pretty.
Well, yeah, you know, time's running out. We probably got to mention, again, the name of your book, Side Effects Death.
Yes.
And then
SideEffectsDeath.com on the internet.
And SideEffectsDeath.com to get more information about it.
And it's an ebook. You can download it right there.
They can buy the ebook or they can buy the softcover. Albeit the softcover will take another week or so to be delivered. But the ebook is available right now, and I urge people, of course, it's my book. I need to sell a few books because it costs a lot of money for me to publish these books.
Yeah, it costs a lot of money to fight these people. Yes, SideEffectsDeath.com. People, you need to get onto that website.
Yes.
Okay, well, John, thank you so much for being on our program.
Well, thank you for having me, and I really appreciate it. I hope that your listeners will get a little more aware of what's going on around them.
Yes.
Start to take their own lives with their own responsibility and not let other people, politicians and psychiatrists among all. So. All
right, then maybe we can have you again. John, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, bye now.
Okay, bye.
Now, also, another thing we need to do is mention Anne's book, Prozac, Panacea of Pandora. Still a very, very good book to have. And then also, what's this?
Well, it'll help you to understand all of the side effects.
If you would like to make a call, please hang up and try again.
Uh-oh.
Okay, go ahead.
I said the book will help you to understand all of the side effects that you've experienced from these drugs now that you know how they got here and that they're really no good for you at all, that it was all a hoax. And along with the book, we're offering a free download of the CD on how to come off of these drugs safely.
And this is
with each copy of the book, yes, you can go to drugawareness.org and purchase the book through PayPal or go to your local health store. And all you have to do is email us with where you got your book, and we will get you the free CD download.
Fantastic. And I really appreciate you coming down here, too, and appreciate you hooking me up with John Virapen.
That's fine.
And also, we need to mention that get this information on drugawareness.org and sideeffectsdeath.com, and then also know how to take care of yourself. You know, it's one thing to get rid of the drugs, another thing knowing how to take care of yourself. And you don't have to worry about, you know, what do I do now if you have the education.
Right.
And there's nothing better that you can do than take our Herbal Course. Our Natural Healing Course will, just the first level of 22 levels, will give you more information than any doctor in the United States knows on herbal healing and natural health.
That's true.
And so if you go on to ChristopherWebsites.com, that's Christopher singular, websites plural, ChristopherWebsites.com, there's all of our websites where you can find the herbs to purchase, you can find information, you can get our radio show, healthyouuradio.com. You scroll down to that one. You can get our free, extremely large information website, herballegacy.com. You can get a free newsletter every week. You know, just go in there and sign up on Herbal Legacy. So you go on to ChristopherWebsites.com, get the downloads, scroll down to wherever you need to go, and there's so much information there. It's just absolutely amazing.
There is everyone that I recommend to give you a call, David. They all want to stay on hold so they can keep listening.
Just
to
listening
all
to the information, yeah. And so another thing, when you go on to ChristopherWebsites.com, scroll down to the online school, and you can sign up today. You can sign up today and be knowledgeable so you'll know how to take care of things. You don't need drugs. You just need to know how your body works and how to deal with that. And we teach all that on the website. And just the first level 1 of 22 levels, you're going to know more than any doctor in the United States on natural care.
And it's also simple. I learned it from you years and years and years ago, and I haven't seen a doctor in over 35 years.
Yeah, you're going to save money.
Yep.
Well, I think we need some music, and we're going to wrap this thing up.
Thanks, David.
Don't forget Ginger's Garden Cafe, 188 South Main in Springville.
Best place to eat ever.
Best food in the world.
Let's go.
Very easy way to get there. 4th South exit. Get there real quick. Until next week, be happy. Have a healthier you.